All right, hello and welcome back to Dynamic Character Productions. We are here tonight covering the preseason of Survivor Monte Carlo with the cast assessment. I am one of the hosts, Ian Moorhead, joined as always by my co-host Morgan Jackson. Morgan, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I am so excited to get this season started. Ian and I put a lot of thought and effort into designing the season, and we're really excited about our cast. Just getting ready for this made me even more pumped. We have 17 great people who are going to be playing this game, and I honestly have no idea who's going to win. So,
and tonight, and for the entire postseason coverage for exit interviews as well, we are joined by former Exile Island castaway Lilly Petzold. Lilly, how you doing?
Good. I'm excited to dive into everybody we're going to be watching this season. See what you guys think.
So Lilly, you did cover the last mini and a half. How do you think you're gonna see the long game on this side now that you're doing the production portion rather than the playing portion?
Oh, it'll be a lot less stressful, a lot more entertaining, I think. So it'll be exciting for me.
Both sides are fun. It's fun to play, and
Yeah.
it's fun to get to see everything behind the curtain.
Yeah. As Morgan said, and she did not misspeak, we are starting with 17 castaways on this season. When they find out that they are just playing with 17 people, I feel like there's going to be some shocked faces. Last year we had an opening twist basically right away that changed the game. Just from an overall perspective, what do the two of you think how do you think that they will react, or the overall cast reaction will be to the 17 person cast?
I think that they're going to be nervous, right? Because the more people that are playing, the more people you have to kind of beat essentially to get to the end, as well as where does that odd man go and how does that play into their game specifically. So at least that's what I would be thinking when I hear that number.
I think it'll depend a lot on the player's org experience. If you've played a handful of games before, you might be more prepared for kind of a crazy start to a game. If you've never played an org before or barely even know what it is, you're probably expecting just your average, 8 versus 8 tribe scenario, nothing crazy. So I think we're going to have some mixed reactions to night one.
Yeah, and for the flip side of that, I kind of thought that's what the perspective would be. Like the vets would be able to roll with the punches at the beginning, and the people who have never played would they would be in shock right away. I just always relate it back to Exile. Like I feel like the people that were shocked by Exile were people that hadn't played. And to play the other side of the coin, like the vets might be used to a certain formula, and they're not going to get that certain formula to start this game. And I think the rookies that can roll with the punches early in this game are going to have a good shot at kind of season control, kind of like the Glam Alliance from Exile, and kind of like some other players from our minis that have come, like Brett from Ricky out of nowhere to just control the game. So yeah, I think the opening twist should be exciting from, once again, both sides, player and production. But without further ado, we are going to get started with our cast assessment. Our first castaway is known around DCP. He is returning from Exile Island. He was our 12th place finisher, Mr. Connor Clark. Now, Connor is still an erratic 17-year-old boy. He is, and interestingly enough, the Monte Carlo theme, it's going to revolve around risk and reward. Like, do you gamble? Do you take the shot when you have the opportunity? Connor is looking to play professional poker for a living. So this is a perfect scenario for him. We got his intro video back. And Lilly, what did you think of his first confessional for the season? What'd you think?
It is Connor 2.0. It feels like, I think he is more willing to own up to the fact that he is erratic, which I think is really going to change his game. I think it's going to make him a little bit more self-aware of his standing with the tribe, and he's not going to be so strategically driven, which I think is really going to benefit him. I think he needs to lean more on the social, because he wasn't making those connections in what we saw, or what I saw in Exile Island. So I think him knowing that, and he even specifically said he is going to try to be more calculated. I think that's going to go really well for him if he can kind of keep that erratic playing until the merge. And I think he'll go really, really far this go around, because if you're erratic, it makes you an easy merge vote. So I hope that doesn't happen to him this go around.
Yeah, I think he learned a lot about himself playing in Exile Island. Connor's a very intelligent kid and understands the game of Survivor, but did not do as well as he would have hoped. And I think he's really back and better than ever. I'm really excited to see what he's going to do. And I have high hopes for Connor 2.0.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. When he applied, I was thinking of how he could better his game this go around. And when I saw what he said in his intro, like everything he said is what I wanted to see. I wanted to see him be the kid who's willing to take a chance, but also isn't going to volunteer for Exile Island, or isn't going to. Yeah. It seemed like last season he did try and make connections, but it was with like people he thought he could connect with right off the bat. Like Jim got in contact with him. He got in contact with Mike Simmons, Mike Zucker, John. Like he's gonna have to try and bond with everyone. I mean, that's how you build a social game, is trying to get, in chats with everyone, try and work with people from all sorts of backgrounds. So I also look for Connor to do much better this go around. I think that it could be a case of Tony Game Changers going into Winners at War, where he is thought of as this like wild, erratic player that can't win, like cannot strategize to the extent that he needs to. Not saying he's going to win, but I think he's going to do much better than 5th boot in 12th place this go around. So, but we are very excited to have Connor back. He was an absolute blast the first time, and no matter how he finishes, he's going to be an absolute blast this time as well. So
up next, we have Andrew. Andrew is 30 years old from Boston, and he said that the winner that he relates to the most is Sandra. Upfront, direct, tells people how it is. So we'll see how that plays to his advantage here, or maybe disadvantage. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the hard part about being direct is you need to know who to be direct with and who not to. So I think if he can figure that out, then he'll do really well with that. And his experience of working in like the event field, I think is really going to help him, because he should be used to having conversations with people he doesn't know, kind of bartering or figuring his way around things. So I think that'll really be to his advantage in this game. So I'm excited to see Andrew. I think he might do really well. He just, has to be careful of who he's direct to and how he shoots his arrow.
Yeah, when I saw Andrew's app the first time around, I thought the same thing. I thought, here's a guy who's never played, who can come in and, as long as he figures out the time commitment, which everyone will, I think he's going to do really well. He is a Bad Bitch Book Club adjacent participant. His sister is a member of Bad Bitch Book Club. That's where we got Miss Lilly from. So I think that Andrew is going to do well. I see him kind of being one of the heads of his tribe in the social game, kind of like a Greg, where people are coming to him with information that, in Exile, we got Bill going to Greg. We had Lauren, Mackenzie. I think Andrew could fill that role And I do look for him to go pretty far in the game. I agree with the event manager thing. I think your current profession has a lot to do with your play, especially because you are working while you're playing this game. So it's hard to mold in and out of your professional life. So if your professional life is directly helping your game, it's gonna benefit you a lot. So yeah, I'm excited to see Andrew play as well.
Yeah. So next we have Kylie. She is a stay-at-home mom. In her video, she says, you know, she wants to appear sweet, but she wants to play the villain. She's played a couple orgs before, so I think she would be more so on the veteran side of this cast. So how do you guys think that's going to kind of play into how she's perceived?
Kylie's another one. I mean, I'm not going to say too many times tonight that I don't expect someone to do well. Kylie she's played 2 orgs. She has a first place and a second place. So she knows what she's doing. She is a smart cookie. And she said in her video, she's got that Southern charm. She's going to bring that to this game. I think that she can use that to her advantage big time. She also has a relationship with another castaway in this group. Does she use that? How long does she use that? So that'll be interesting. That could work against her though. I mean, we've seen that where people can pinpoint those kind of things. People who go deep into the analytics of who's played with who and all that, they could find out that she has a connection and she could get the boot. But I think with her past play, I would look again for Kylie to go very far in the game. And I'm excited to see her play as well. So
Yeah, I think she brings a lot of energy and just a fun nature. I think, speaking of previous relationships, you know, we have throughout this cast kind of pairs of people that have either played in the same game before or know each other through something. And a connection can either be a good thing or a bad thing. Just because you know somebody or even played with somebody doesn't necessarily mean you're excited to see them playing with you again. You know, it could be where one person expects, all right, we're locked in, we're gonna play this game together, but that's not necessarily reciprocated on the other end. So I do think Kylie could do really well. And yeah, I mean, as both of you have said, I think she's got what it takes. She's proven it before. She's made it to the end twice, which is not easy to do.
She also said that she has a lot of time to put into the game. And I think, again, people will pick up on how much time they have to put in day out to play. Mm-hmm. But if you have that time to put in, that extra time, that extra conversation that you could have that someone else might not be able to have, could get you through a round. It could get you a relationship that gets you deep into the game. So yeah, I think I like what Morgan said though. Like, we have a couple of pairs in the game. Mm-hmm. That, you know, if a pair calls out another pair, do they do that? Do you think it's smart with the multiple, if they figure out that, like, you know, pair A calls out pair B, but now pair A is also called out. So, you know, does that negatively affect their game? It'll be interesting to see how they maneuver around that.
Yeah, I think also pointing out how much time she can put into the game, if she makes that known to everyone, it could be seen as a threat. Yeah. Playing these long games, and if you have a profession where you can't give a lot of time, a person you would want to vote out would be someone like Kylie, who has the time and has that personality that can draw people in. I wrote, I adore her on my notes because she has that personality that can draw people in. And so if I'm working and I can't get to my computer to have a conversation, and I know Kylie has all this time, she might be high on my list to cut off. So it really is towing that line of, as well as, you know, do you tell everyone you have time, or do you kind of play it down?
It's a great point.
Yeah,
it's a great point.
Yeah. Well, speaking of her pair, we're gonna move on to Mike Reick He is 24 years old and from Doylestown, Pennsylvania. Mike is from an org that Kylie played in. They played in, I want to say Pandemic together. No,
Survivor Pandemic.
Survivor Pandemic. Okay, so they played together in a game. The one that Kylie finished unofficially first. So she finished second and Mike was able to finish seventh. Mike seems like a villain on paper. As soon as you read like his first legitimate answer, you know this guy is a villain. And I am very much looking forward to see how Mike plays the game.
Yeah, the two Survivor players that he related himself to were Tony Vlachos and Russell Hantz. So if that tells you anything about how he's about to play this game, I don't know what would. He also said he can sell sand to an Egyptian.
Love
so
it.
I think he's going to be kind of a smooth talker. We'll see how that goes though. Sometimes like if people are too smooth with you, you're like, okay, this kind of makes me feel a little unsure if I can actually trust you. Like if he's saying too many of the right things, then it's probably too good to be true. I think he's going to come out guns a-blazing, says he's willing to get his hands dirty, make people uncomfortable. And I think it will either work out really well for him or work out really not well for him.
Yes.
To go both ways.
Yeah, I completely agree. I wrote, will either be a great pre-merge boot or will end up like Alex Cousins, where he kind of plays under the radar, creates a little chaos and makes it all the way to the end. I think it could really go either way for me. It's just like y'all said, like, is he going to create that chaos and be deceitful in the beginning and be gone early? Or yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, and I think something that our lovely friend Lauren did not do in Exile was she played a villain right off the bat. I mean, she was calling people out left and right, but the rest of the cast wasn't like looking for that necessarily. It kind of reminded me of Samoa, where like Russell was super villain, but none of the rest of the cast they weren't loving that strategy. They weren't a strategic heavy jury, which is why he ultimately ended up losing the game. If Mike comes in here guns blazing and everyone's like, you know, waving the white flag right off the go, I mean, Mike could go very early. But yeah, if people want chaos, if people, Mike might be, he'll be bringing the gasoline to start the fire. That's for sure.
I think so. And I think this will be a change from what he has played, at least in that one org he played with Kylie. I watched a quick video to see, you know, how they kind of played. And it seemed like really he liked to toe the line. He liked to play both sides and he wanted to feel like he was strong with people. So if he wants to play this kind of deceitful, chaotic game, I think it'll be a little different from what he's played before. And then the question comes in, can you pull it off? You know, like, can you pull off this character that you're not in your normal life? And how does that affect your end game, essentially?
Yeah.
Up next, we have Nick Cannon.
And not the Nick Cannon.
Not that Nick Cannon. Nick is 28. He's from Seattle. And one of my favorite lines from his application is that he's as single as Coach was on his Exile Island journey. In talking with Nick, just getting him ready for everything before the game, he seems like just super hilarious. Lots of great jokes. But I think he's also super intelligent. He's got that analytical side to his brain. And for me, just personally, he says he's a long distance runner, which I appreciate. And I think that somewhat speaks to, you know, your personality. If you are willing to, you know, go those long miles, that says something about, you know, your determination, your discipline, that sort of thing. So I'm really excited to see what Nick's going to bring to the game.
I like that you pointed out that answer to the question, because I feel like, and this is me being a little judgy, but people that think they're funny say they're single as a Pringle, right? Got like 10 people that said that in the application. But, he didn't say that. He had a clever line. And I think that does show that he's clever, he's witty, and I think he'll be able to use it. I did write, I was like, I think he's going to really draw people in. I think he's going to play a similar game to Greg in Exile. People are going to want to work with him. But if he tries to take charge, they're not going to want to work for him. I think that's going to be very hard for him to do because he's smart and he'll know what is the good move. But I think it's a matter of making other people think it's their idea. And I think if he can do that, then it's a ticket to the final tribal for him, for sure.
Yeah, I think you both make great points. I think Nick will be the most liked person on this cast. And whether you're a great player, and not saying Nick is going to be bad, but whether you're a great player or not, people will keep you around if they like you. They're going to be spending hours a day chatting with you, Zooming with you. They want to be around people they like. So Nick, like Morgan said, like the stuff he has been saying to us makes me so excited to see him play because he is so excited to play. I think him and there's a couple people on this cast that have shown like that they want to win, that they are here to have fun and to win, because Nick has never played a game before. He binged Exile Island in 2 days to prepare for this game, and I wouldn't be surprised if he binged it a second time, honestly. This guy is going to be an absolute hoot. I look for him to do well in challenges. I look for him to do well in endurance challenges specifically. I think that the long distance running, long hikes, I mean, you have to be, I think a lot of the endurance in this game is controlling your breathing. And I think to do both of those activities, you have to control your breathing fairly well. And so I look for Nick to be one of our top challenge competitors this season.
Yeah, so up next we have McKenna. She is also a Bad Bitch book club member, so that might lead to connections, as we brought up earlier. She lists herself as funny and witty, which I think is very true. I don't know her directly, but just being within the book club, she is very down to earth, relatable. She has funny stories that we see in the application, and I think people are going to love that and be drawn. I did make a note. I think she's gonna need to be assertive. This is her first org, so I think she is gonna have a lot of fun with it, but it might be a little bit overwhelming for her. So I really hope that she rolls with the punches, but I think it could really go either way for her. But I think she has the personality to make it far in this game.
Yeah, I remembered reading her application, and I think just because these games always happen to be more male dominated in terms of players, we have 5 women on this season and 12 men. And reading her, even just her hobbies, she seems like she could be a guy's gal. And I think that could tremendously help her game. I mean, just some of her hobbies are playing golf, bar hopping, playing fantasy football. Like, those are things you can bond with. And of course, Bad Bitch Book Club member, she likes some bad bitches. So yeah, I look for her to get along with a lot of people. And one thing that I loved that she said was that she is single, but actively going on one date with multiple people and then never speaking to them again. Love it.
So funny and not a Pringle. I just want to point out, these are the people that are funny. You know what I mean? When you're up at 1 a.m. on a Zoom call with them, they'll make you laugh and you want to keep them in, like you mentioned earlier, Ian.
Yeah, reading McKenna's application, you can't help but kind of laugh to yourself. She's just a funny person and seems like somebody that I would really enjoy just like hanging out with. Coincidentally, McKenna lives in the same city as me. I was able to hand deliver her challenge supplies to her. So little part of me is rooting for, the hometown girl. but I am really excited to have McKenna as part of the cast. And I agree with you, Lily. I hope that as a newbie to orgs, she has all of the right pieces of the puzzle, right? She has that sociable personality. She's intelligent, can do puzzles, has the analytical side, but orgs can be overwhelming, and hopefully she's able to rise to the occasion.
Yeah, she I think for not only McKenna but other people who have all those pieces, it kind of reminds me of in BB20 when Caitlin was like trying to put together that puzzle to stay in the game, but she couldn't in like up 30 seconds, but then she just like bawled her eyes out because she couldn't do it. Will McKenna bawl her eyes out, or will she put the puzzle together? I think those are the two
Yeah.
options.
Yeah,
So,
and I think the biggest thing for this long game, especially for me when I came in and never doing it before, it eats at you slowly throughout the game. You like lose the capacity to handle it that you could at the beginning. So I think like that's what I don't want to see for these newbies. I want to see them like be energized and be prepared for everything throughout the game, because the twists don't stop, and so I think she'll be able to do that. She's got the energy, she's got the charisma, so I'm excited. I'm just going to keep saying that because this is a great cast. There's really no one where I'm like, eh.
All right, next we have Jonathan Oliveira. Jonathan is our oldest contestant at 38 years old. He is from Toronto, Canada. So him and Connor are the two Canadians on the cast. Jonathan is an org vet. He has played in several games. But my favorite that he told us is that he is the winner of a retirement home org, a battle of the bands. That I was locked in on this guy. I didn't care.
What does that even mean?
I don't know, but I actually want to find out. Like when we get to know this guy, I need to figure out what that was, because that just sounds amazing. Jonathan is a casting director, so his entire life revolves around picking people apart as you get to meet them. If he can pick the right pieces right off the bat, I think Jonathan is one of my possible picks to win the game. I really like Jonathan, and we were talking about it before we started, but Jonathan's our oldest player at 38. There's no outliers in age here where there's a generational gap. Sorry, Bill. But he is the oldest member of the cast, but I feel like he can still relate to the Connors of the teenage world. So I am looking for Jonathan to do very well.
Yeah, if you look on paper, 17 to 38 seems like a big gap, but I do think the age range of the cast is very spread out. It's not going to seem like, even on the young end for Connor, like we have young 20 somethings. Nobody's really going to feel like they're way older or way younger than anybody else. Yeah, so like you said, Jonathan has a lot of experience playing orgs, and he's branching out into this one. It kind of seems like he's been able to play orgs that are in similar circles, and he's looking to be in a game where he doesn't know anybody and kind of have a fresh start. And that's really what Survivor is supposed to be, right? You're playing with all these strangers that you've never met before. And yeah, I think Jonathan's experience and just his current occupation, his personality, he's really going to be able to, navigate this game really well, in a way that doesn't seem threatening. But also, if he is able to make it to the end, I think that he will play the game in a way that is worthy of a win. So.
Yeah, I think his game is really going to rely on that social. I think he's going to be great at strategic, like you guys mentioned. He's going to be able to read the cast better than I can sitting here reading everyone's application. But I think for him, it's the only thing that might hurt him is the social game of, watching his video. I can't see how he's going to react with others. I think he's going to do well, but I think that if anything hurts his game, I think that's just going to be it, because it felt like watching his video, his wheels were turning as he was talking. And so if you're kind of having a conversation, you get that vibe from someone, it might, but it's a first video, might also just be, he's thinking of what to say. I think it'll be really interesting to see. I did like the tidbit at the end. He mentions his crystals, so we got a little bit of his personality, and I was like, okay, he's funny, he'll crack jokes, like I think he's going to do really well. But he did seem a little what's it called, like he was holding something back. So if he can not do that while he's interacting with people in the cast, I think he'll go far without people even thinking he's a threat.
Yeah, he was the other one that messaged me and Morgan and said, like, I just binge watched Exile Island, or I just finished watching it. So, I mean, he's doing it. He's doing his homework. I also loved in his application that he wants to play the game with people he doesn't know. He wants to play Survivor like it's meant to be played. And so I think people will see him as a threat. It depends on when they find that out. If it's found out before the merge, there's no way he's making it to the end. But if it's found out later, I mean, he might already have a head of steam. So get off the track when the train's coming through. So yeah, I'm excited to see what Jonathan plays as well.
All right, up next we have our other teenager, Elijah. He's 18 years old from North Carolina. He knows our org productions very well. He knows DCP very well. He's a student of the game, as it were, both, the actual Survivor and our own productions that we put together, which even though he might not have experience playing in orgs himself, he knows what to expect to a pretty good degree, which will obviously play to his favor. Despite being 18, he seems like he is very mature for his age, very well spoken. And I don't, Connor and Elijah are basically the same age, but I think they are going to come across very, very differently to the cast, which it'll be interesting to see if they decide to pair up together as the two teenagers playing, or how that interaction will go. I'm curious about that.
Yeah, I think I wrote down for Elijah, he's going to need a beefy person to go through the game with. I think he needs somebody that is going to be flashy, help him make all those moves. And then at the end, if he can get rid of them and claim those moves as his own, he can do really well. But I think he needs to kind of have that one-on-one connection with somebody that is going to bring in a lot of people or be willing to make the connections needed for a couple big moves. And I think that will really get him to the end. And if he can get there and then cut that person, which is such a hard task, I think that he, could win this game. I could really see that being the perfect route for Elijah, because I think he's smart, like you said, and him knowing DCP in and out, somebody could see that and say, I want to keep him around because every time we get tree mail, he's going to know what it says. He's going to know what I need to do today to get ready for this challenge. And so if he doesn't tell everybody, if he just tells that one beefy person he needs to keep, I think he could, really use it to his advantage.
Yeah. Sorry.
If there was a DCP super fan, Elijah would fit the mold. So, but he reminds me so much of our next castaway we will be talking about. But he reminds me so much of Victoria Fung's game from Exile. Like at post game, everyone loves Victoria. Like everyone is like, oh, Queen Victoria, this and that. Like she's so great. But in the game, I just don't think I think she was shy. I worry about Elijah being shy off the bat and not putting himself out there, letting people see his personality. Because I think if I agree with Lilly. If he can show his personality and get it out there and, come across as someone who's not overly strategic, then I look for him to do really well. I could see the opposite happening though. I don't want him to fall into a person who's being asked to be in an alliance rather than a person who's trying to form them himself. So yeah, I am very happy we have Elijah on. He is a constant viewer of DCP. So I am happy he's getting his first org experience with us and can't wait to watch him play.
Yeah, he could get scooped up by, one of our more experienced players, and kind of be the right-hand man. But if he's gonna obviously win, he's gonna have to take the reins at some point. So
yeah,
I'm excited.
Yeah, and I think, as you mentioned, I think he does come off as shy. So instead of focusing on getting to know everybody, which is a lot of these extroverts kind of technique, I think he just needs to make like 3 or 4 really good connections. There are some people in the game, like myself, I couldn't connect with everybody. I don't have the mental capacity for it. So if he can know that going in and just get a couple, I think he'll set himself up for more of a success. Yeah. Well, as Ian mentioned, our next castaway is Victoria. I had the pleasure of playing with Victoria in Exile Island. It was really interesting going through her application because, just like Connor, we're looking more as what did you learn from Exile and what are you trying to do more? And Victoria's main goal from what I got is that she's going to try to come out of her shell more. Now she knows she has a lovely personality. She's beautiful inside and out. And she is a challenge beast, whether she wants to admit that or not. She is going to be really good at these challenges. She's really intuitive. She's strategic and she's smart. She just needs to make those connections to get her through to the merge. And then I could see her really taking control of this game.
Yeah, I think what happened to Victoria in Exile with the very first puzzle where she really did screw up and it cost the Phil tribe immunity the first go around. I think that really helped her game. I think she was very nervous about making a mistake. And I think that led to her becoming, morphing into that challenged competitor that we saw. I think she's going to bring that fire right away this go around. Her video that she gave us was, again, exactly what I wanted to see on her kind of retrospective look at her Exile Island experience. There was no shyness in her video that she gave us. I mean, she was direct to the point. She was very clear on why she didn't do so hot the first time, and she was ready to bring it this time. And I think Victoria has a shot. I really do. I think for the people that watched Exile, like Jonathan and Nick, like we already mentioned, they would be down and ready to work with Victoria right off the bat. I don't think that she's going to be someone where they're like, oh, we saw her play the first time, like let's not get into that. I think they would be willing to jump in right away. So again, very excited to see Victoria play. So
yes. So Victoria and Connor would be another quote unquote pair, right? They were both in Exile Island. However, they never played together. Obviously they are going to know who the other is. And as we've mentioned, we have several people playing this game who have watched previous games from DCP. So they're going to know that Connor and Victoria know each other, but I honestly don't think it's going to be much of a factor. Just because both Connor and Victoria went out pre-merge of Exile Island. They never actually played together. And I think honestly, that's going to play to Victoria's benefit. She just who she is. She's a trustworthy person. She's super smart. She's reliable. She's going to be a good ally. And a lot of people, it's going to be to her benefit that people have watched her play and know to expect that from her. So I believe in some good things from Victoria this season.
Me too. Well, moving on, we will move on to Julia Dworkin. She is 30 years old from New York, New York. This girl seems like a smart motherfucking cookie. That's the first thing I saw when I read her app. I was like, this girl is smart. Most of our applicants are into board games and games, but this girl said Scrabble right away. I was like, damn, this girl is going to show her
And
intelligence.
Catan. That's good combo.
I think that this girl will dominate the puzzle scene, both tribe and, if she makes it far enough, individual stage this season. I worry about her possibly becoming a threat too early, showing herself as a threat, and then maybe being that, like, I could see her being that, like, right before merge boot, like, we cannot let this person catch steam, so let's just, let's vote her out right before the merge, because as Lilly said, and as we've pointed to, like, there will be twists along the way. It's not going to be as simple as like, oh, you're with your alliance, you're good to go. You have to be able to adapt. And if the other tribe right off the bat is able to pick you out as a threat, that's not good. So if Julia can manage her threat level, I look for her to do very well. And if she can't, I look for quite the opposite.
Yeah, I think Julia is going to be a force in this game. I think she's a force in her everyday life, and she's going to bring that energy and obviously who she is to this game. She is like super fresh to any sort of org. In fact, when we asked for org experience in the application, she said, I don't really know what this means. So like, she is like brand spanking new. I know she's a big Survivor fan and is excited to incorporate this new element of being a Survivor fan into her life. I don't know how busy her day-to-day life is, if she's going to be able to dedicate all the time, compared to, we talked about Kylie before. Is there going to be, we talked about how somebody who can dedicate a lot of time might be a threat, but somebody who might not be able to dedicate a lot of time could be seen as somebody that's easy to take out. Now, I don't know what Julia's level of commitment is going to be as far as what she has for time. But I really hope that she is able to, harness what she does in her daily life in this game.
Yeah, I think alongside of you guys, I read her application was like, she's smart. She's going to be great at the strategic. I think one thing she might struggle with, just because she loves all these games, is not everyone's going to want to make what makes them the best move, right? Strategically, even in your alliance, people are going to want to make a move that you think is dumb. And so is she going to be able to go along with a dumb vote here or there to keep the people close with her? Or is she going to kind of tell them how it is, and how is that going to work? Is she going to be able to be direct, like we've talked about, with the people that she aligns with, or will she kind of struggle with that line? That's the only thing I couldn't really grasp from her application, but I think she's smart enough to know which battles to pick and choose. So I think she's going to make it far if, like you guys said, she doesn't become an easy pre-merge boot, because she is a threat, she's smart, and whether she's able to handle everything that this game comes with.
I think this is the rare occasion where if she's able to, if she is a little busier, it could actually benefit her to where, I think she will come off as a strategist almost right away. So maybe if she's able to get in with an alliance early, and then kind of, be in the alliance, participate, but not, form plans, she might be able to sit in the back seat for a little bit, really analyze the game. Because, when you're at work, just because you're not messaging someone doesn't mean you're not thinking about the game in your head. So she might be able to pick put the X's and O's out there without necessarily moving them around. So I think that could be another avenue for her to do well.
Yeah, that's true. And I think like in the game, you hear like when you're on a tribe or when you're with an alliance, someone that contributes to the camp, right? Like in Real Survivor, people keep them around for that. And I could see Julia being that person. She contributes to the strategic conversation. She comes up with good ideas, but if she's able to, you know, let other people make the call, she puts it out there, then I think that, yeah, she's going to make it far and she'll be able to claim all those moves as her own.
All right, up next, we have Micah. Micah is 25 years old from Minnesota, describes himself as caring, charming, and energetic. To me, the most helpful thing in applications is when they answer who they compare themselves to in Survivor. And Micah said Todd from China and Charlie from Survivor Gabon, which is a reference that we do not hear very often. But, you know, if you've seen those seasons, it gives you a good idea of, you know, what we can expect from Micah as far as his personality, the energy and positivity, and also kind of that cunning, strategic side as well. I feel like both Todd and Charlie have similar personalities, at least in what we had seen on the show. Micah has done a mini, which he played with McKenna. Was it the one that McKenna and Carrie both played? Yeah. So he's done a mini, but hasn't done a long game. So we'll see how he does with the different format.
Yeah, he also talks about he is really looking forward to his social game, but he will be ready to cut people when he needs. And I think people who are playing their first long game, I think finding that timing is going to be the most difficult part. So I think that will be Micah's biggest struggle, is if he cuts the people that he's working with or made this social alliance with, it could be really harder to bounce back in a long game because there's so, or he could take advantage of all the time and rebuild with that social connection. So I think timing is going to be really important for him, but I think, you know, he has a different perspective, which can bring him far. He can connect with both the veterans and the newbies because he has org experience, but it's not directly this. So he can also kind of connect on that basis as well.
Yeah, I mean, I refer to people as veterans, even if they've just played a single game, but Micah has not played a long game, so he is a long game rookie. I loved his answer that he wants to play a long game because it derives more of the social game, and I can't wait to see what he can do. I look for him to be an all-around player. I look for him to do well in challenges as well. And he is one of our single as a Pringle people. So maybe they can find the people who are single as a Pringle can create an alliance. And then...
They really could. They could run this game. We're going to have a single as a Pringle alliance.
Yeah. Let's not have that, please.
I love it.
I look for Micah to do extremely well. His first, when you describe yourself first as caring, I think that says a lot about who you are. And I think people are going to be able to recognize that and believe that right away. I think from his application, he's not just going to be coming off as caring because it's a game. I think he's going to genuinely hold these relationships close to his chest. So I look for Micah to do very well. And I'm excited to see him play.
And in case you're keeping track, there's 11 people we've talked about so far, and we're looking for all 11 of them to do very well, and we're excited to see them play.
Yeah, I was wondering if the viewing audience would pick up on that, but yeah.
All right, next we have Shay, and along with the lines of caring, Shay described himself as generous, which I think is going to really come off the same way as caring. He's going to want to be involved, you know, with people. He cares about them in and outside of the game, which I think is going to play well with him. In his video, he was hilarious. He's going to be that big personality that brings a tribe together. And that can either go really well for him or really poorly, because I think people will look to him as a confidant, but they'll also see him. He could potentially step in as that tribe leader, that morale booster. So it's, does he play more of a, let's all get together and, you know, get ready for this thing, or is he going to cheer on people individually? It's really going to depend on how he takes this generous, kind of funny, big personality. But I mean, he's a great character. I loved his 2-minute video. I think I watched it 2 times because he's hilarious. You get so much information from 2 minutes of him talking. Then, you know, I've watched castmates from other orgs where you feel like you don't get anything in 5 minutes. So I think he could really go far, but it's a matter of how he's going to play up and down his personality and if he can time it right with the right people.
My 2 things for Shay are, first, that he kind of took a step back from orgs because he didn't really enjoy the scene. He felt like he was just kind of repeating his placement in games. You know, he said that he usually finishes around like the 5 to 8 mark. But he came to this one because the theme of gambling caught him. Shay is a admitted gambler, and I look for him to take every risk he possibly could. I think this is one of those things where, as a vet, you know, you've played in a game, you're willing to go for it if given the opportunity, because, you know, if you wanted to, you have the connections, you can find another game. You know, he's done this before. He is a former DCP player. He did, in fact, play in a mini with Morgan, and Shay finished 7th. So in his 5 to 8 range. Second thing about Shay is that he reminds me so much of John Millsip.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say.
And John's play from Exile. Like, that's just exactly what I see from Shay, where Shay is the guy bringing the tribe together every night to just hang out. Even if there is no strategic drive behind doing that, he just wants everybody to have a good time. He knows what it's like to play in a shitty org with a bad experience. He wants everyone, veteran, rookie, to have a great time. And I agree, shooting, whether those were real or fake $100 bills out of the was incredible. I think that was one of the best things I've ever seen. That might come up second to Jim Bunce and Thunderstruck coming out of the garage, but that was incredible. And I'm looking forward to see Shay play.
So as Ian mentioned, I did play with Shay in one of our minis, and we were aligned together until we were both blindsided and he was voted out. And, you know, playing with Shay, he is very level-headed. He's strategic. He comes off as very trustworthy. And I really think, just like you guys have mentioned, he's going to be able to get into an alliance early on and kind of build that team morale. I hope that he isn't perceived as too much of being that team leader. As we saw with John, that's kind of what ended up doing his game in a little bit. So hopefully Shay can stay away from that. But yeah, Shay is an awesome guy, and I'm really excited to see him play into the theme of Monte Carlo and really go all in with the opportunities for the twists and the advantages and that sort of thing. So
do we think that Shay continues his streak of placement between 5 to 8?
Yes.
I agree.
I was going to say no. I think he either gets out before 8 or after 5.
Okay.
All right.
So Lily's taking mathematical odds.
I do think I could really see Shay taking Elijah or Connor under his wing, and that really working out well for both there, especially with Connor trying to get into poker. You know, Shay likes to gamble. He's into the poker scene. I think Connor and Shay would be a great duo, as well as I think Elijah and Shay. So it would be cool to see that work out.
That would be great friggin' TV too.
Yeah,
Not that this is television, but that would be great TV. Yeah, very, very excited to see Shay play. We are moving on to Parker Barnett. He is 23 years old from Pottsboro, Texas. I have spoken with Parker on several occasions, played some board games with him. He is a big time org vet. He has been playing orgs for a long time. Even though he's only 23 years old, he has made his way through the org scene. Parker is a guy that I think he's only 23. He might come off as being one of the younger people just by age, but I think he is made to win orgs. I think I've always thought that, getting to know him. Excuse me. As long as he, puts time into the game and uses his he kind of has the Southern charm too, uses that Southern charm ability. I think, if he gets in with the right people, as in, he might be one of the top 2 or 3 in the alliance, I think Parker does very, very well. I would be shocked to see him go pre-merge, and I'm excited to see him play.
So Parker, in my conversations with him, I never would have guessed that he's only 23 years old. He doesn't come across as a young, immature person. Not that all 23-year-olds are immature, but I think he comes off, really kind, just easy to talk to. The Survivor winner that he compared himself to was Ethan Zahn, and I could just totally see like the Ethan Zahn of Survivor Africa and Parker being like the same person. Just like really good-hearted, but also a good game player, and is going to build great relationships. He's going to be a really good social player, and having lots of org experience, I think will play in his favor. Based on his application, it seems like he's taken a significant break from playing orgs. So I'm excited for him to kind of get back into it and hopefully play the game with kind of a fresh stance on all that org has to offer, and that he has a fun time playing.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see Parker play because I think he's really smart. And like you guys said, I think he's going to be able to make those relationships, because even through his application, I unfortunately haven't been able to interact with him that much, but he seems really down to earth. Like he's willing to have those deep conversations or get to know people and kind of have fun with it, as well as understand there's a time and place for fun and to have a serious conversation. And I think that's important in this game because it is a long game. Some people, when you call them, don't want to talk about their life in that moment. They want to know where you're voting, and then they want to go have dinner with their mom. You know what I mean? So I think he'll be able to kind of gauge that with people and be able to use time wisely and use his interactions. And I think he's going to go really far. Like Ian said, I'd be surprised if he went out pre-merge. The only way I could see it is if somebody pinpoints him as a threat early on, if he somehow makes himself shine in a couple challenges back to back. But even in that tribe scenario, I think if he does kind of play that, connection, social game base, people won't want to get rid of him at that point. So I think he will go decently far.
Yeah, I think he is very well ingratiated as well into the LRG scene, which is like live reality games. I think if people know him and are aware of his experience, I think that could be his downfall early on. That could be his early exit, his trap. But he did say in his app that he has to relearn the basics of the game, and now also has to add in the new components that he needs to master to succeed. So it sounds like he kind of has all his ingredients in the stew, in the soup. Like, is he gonna mix it together, and is it gonna taste good? We'll see. We'll see when the season gets going. But
All right. Well, it would not be a DCP long game if we didn't have two Michaels. So, in case you didn't know, we had two Michaels in Exile Island, Mike Simmons and Michael Zucker. And we already spoke about Mike Reick, and we also have Michael Reilly. Michael's 22 years old from New Jersey. Michael also recently played in our most recent mini, and compares himself to Michelle Fitzgerald and Angelina from David vs. Goliath, which is a iconic combination. So I got to watch Michael play in real time, being on the production side of things. Michael's just super funny, but also very soft spoken. He kind of has that humor that catches you off guard. He's not like that in your face personality, but when you get talking to him, you're like, oh my gosh, this guy's funny and fun to talk to. I'm excited to see how the long game format will compare for him to the mini game.
Yeah, I think with this long game, the first like 3 days are going to be very vital for Michael Reilly, because he can either go into his shell and not talk, or like you said, Morgan, he can make those connections with people, because in his video, you can see he's nervous about the game. He makes jokes, he makes jokes about himself, which to some people can be a little bit off-putting, but I think the more you get to know Michael Reilly, the more you're like, okay, yeah, you're actually funny. Like, let's connect. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I can trust you. He has one of those personalities, but I think it's going to be that in the moment at the beginning, it's either he's an easy vote out or he makes it to the merge. I don't think there's any in between for him. I think getting a good, solid, let's just get a majority alliance together. So when our tribe has to go to tribal council, I think if he can get in that alliance, then I think he's set, and I think he could make it pretty far. But I do think those first kind of, interactions are going to be vital for him. And we did see in the mini, he is really good at challenges. He is good at the endurance. He's good at the tribe one. So I think that will also go to his advantage as well.
yeah, Michael was probably a minute or two in a wall sit away from at least receiving votes at the end of Sahara Dunes. I definitely think that he would have received votes had he got there. And this guy did a wall sit for a long time in skinny jeans, so he was this is really gonna pain me here, and I'm sorry, Michael, but he reminds me a lot of Will Fauntleroy, where those first few days are so vital for him. If Will would have talked to people, Will would have been in the game. And if Michael can make connections early on, like you said, Lily, I think he's going to be in the game for a long time. But there's the fallback. Will did not make connections, and Will was our first boot. So I look for Michael to make the transition between mini and long game, but I think it's going to take him a little longer than it will take some of our other mini to long game people that we have. And, as always, I think he's going to do well. I think he could do very well, and I'm excited to see him play.
Yeah, so up next we have Kyle. He is another DCP mini previous player. He is currently a student in that, so maybe it could be another pair. It's a little bit of a stretch, but he could connect with Michael Reilly in that playing a mini. They played 2 separate seasons, but just having somebody that's had the same connection, they're most likely have seen each other's seasons. That could be an easy pair up for them. Even Kyle himself in his application calls himself awkward. So I think Kyle and Michael Reilly kind of have very similar personalities. I think that the first couple hours are going to be very important to both of them. I think Kyle's gonna be strategic. He's gonna focus on the mechanics of the game, he said in his video. And I think people will want to use that to their advantage and keep him in. But again, he's got to make those connections early on. He said within his video, he wants to build a core, and then within that core, make a larger alliance for a majority in the tribe. As a player, I hate that strategy. I think that it makes people feel like there's a totem pole because the core is always found out. You always know going into a majority if you're in that core or not. So it goes well for most people, but it can be a huge turnoff. So it's whether if he can do that and not become a threat in the game.
Yeah, Kyle and Shay actually played in the same game. So Kyle is another former castmate of Morgan. Kyle finished one spot behind Morgan in 5th.
Because I idled him out. Oh.
Kyle admitted in his video that he got played a lot on the idle clues and finding advantages, and he did get played, and I think he learned his lesson. But one thing I think Kyle has that I don't know if we've ever had a Castaway have this, Kyle is stupid motherfucking smart. And I don't think you would know that by just getting to know him at all even. I mean, this kid is the type of, I've played his Survivor Sporkle quizzes. This guy knows everything. And not only does he know everything about Survivor, he's very good with people. I've spoken with Kyle and hung out with him probably like 5 times. And every time we hang out, it's a blast. Kyle is one of those people that, like Nick Cannon, like Shay, you're going to want these people around because they're fun to be around. Kyle is another Parker for me. I do not see a way he gets voted out pre-merge, or if there is one, there's like 1 or 2 ways. I look for him to do very well in the game, and I'm excited to see him play.
Yeah, so like Ian said, Kyle and I played together, and at the merge, we were on an opposing tribes pre-merge. So there was kind of like that clash, and he and I were on opposite sides of the game. However, I felt like of all the people on the other side, he was the person that I trusted the most. And I never wanted to vote him out, in those early merge boots, because he was always somebody where I was like, okay, I can work with Kyle. I don't want to vote him out. So I've seen him play well, kind of in that scrambling scenario where you don't have the numbers. You're able to garner trust, maybe a little bit too much, giving idle clues away and that sort of thing. But I think he's learned his lesson. Every time you play an org, you learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about playing the game. And as we've said with a lot of people here, he's going to come back better than ever. Kyle and Shay make that third pair of people that have played together in the same game. So we'll see how that plays out too. That'll be an element to both of their games where they're going to have to decide, are we going to play together or are we not? Are we going to let people know, which a lot of people will know because they've seen our games, that they've played together. So it'll be interesting to see how they navigate that.
Yeah. So moving on, again, it would not be a DCP lone game without a Will, and we have one. Will Schumacher, 27 years old, he currently lives in Philadelphia. He went to school in Clemson. Will is a new Survivor fan. His path of Survivor kind of reminds me a lot of Mike Simmons from Exile, like sort of brand new, has just been binging real Survivor seasons, and has kind of put himself in some of the players' shoes while watching and wants to try it out himself. And it worked out very well for Mike. Not saying it's going to work out the same for Will, But he has a green thumb, which could very well go along with the theme for this season. And he is very into he's into Nick Wilson as a winner and into Ozzy as a non-winner. I think he's going to look to do very well in challenges. I don't know if he's going to do very well in challenges, but I think that's going to be something he feels like is a strength for him. But he does come to us as an org rookie from Greg Langstine, DCP production member and former player of Exile Island as well. And Greg has very high hopes for Will, and so do we. And I'm excited to see him play.
Yeah, I think that being a new fan can honestly be an advantage. Sometimes if you are a super fan of Survivor, you've analyzed every episode, every season, you read the edit, you know, there's so many things that you can kind of get in your head about with this game because it is so strategic. Being a newer fan, you can just kind of like play the game and not like, obviously you have to think about what you're doing, but like you're not going to get in your own head about what you're doing. You're just kind of like, all right, I'm just gonna kind of go with the flow, see how this pans out, go with my gut. And based on Will's application, I do think that's what we're going to expect from him. He says he's easygoing and reliable, and I think he will easily find his way into an alliance in the early part of the game. He'll be able to connect with people very easily and almost like coast his way to the merge. And hopefully at that point, he can come out of his shell and really start to take the reins on some things. So that will be Will's task, is to, you know, step up and make some moves for himself.
Yeah, I think like what you said, Morgan, I thought his choice of word of reliable was good, because most people say loyal, but I think reliable is kind of more owning up to the fact that you can't be loyal to people in this game. You know, you got to know when to cut people and what's best for your game. And so I think his choice of the words that describe him, like reliable, I think that shows that he knows what is going to be needed to get far in this game. And I think he will kind of play like Mike Simmons. You know, Mike Simmons was pretty easygoing. In Will's application, he says he enjoys people, which is a major help in this game, because you just got to be able to connect to people and be able for people to be able to feel like they can go to him and have an honest conversation is going to take him very far in this game. And I can see that being his role within the tribe or within his alliance that he makes. So I do see him making it pretty far, and maybe even a similar game to Simmons if he can be a comp beast like he was.
I don't know if this will make sense to either of you, but I feel like there is a couple people each season that just like, when you look at your screen, like they're one of the people you see first, they pop on screen. I feel like that could be Will, and I feel like that will benefit him right off the bat and get him into an alliance very early. I feel like when, you know, all 17 people are on the screen, people will notice Will pretty quickly and people will want to work with Will. So looking for him to do very well. Excited to see him play.
All right. Our final castaway is Margaret Kelly, 28 years old, also coming to us from the book club and very much into the arts. You know, she says acting, writing, reading, dancing, these are all hobbies of hers. And just from her application, from her video, she seems just like a fun, really just like light personality. Like I just watching her video, I just feel like this lightness coming from her. And she's a little goofy and she owns it. And, you know, that's awesome. And she's also very new to orgs, but does have, you know, we have a few people who have that book club connection. So it'll be interesting to see if they're able to figure each other out, that they have that in common, and if that will be anything. especially being a new person to the game. Sometimes you kind of look for any sort of connection with somebody else that'll get you through. I'm really excited to see what Margaret has in store for us.
Yeah, she comes across the screen beautifully, which I think is very hard to do. I watched her video and was like, oh my gosh, we're on the same book club. And I was like, she is so cool. I'm obsessed with her. Like, I would be intimidated if she was in the game with me, but I would want to work with her for that reason, because I think she'll be able to make those connections right off the bat. I thought it was interesting that she described herself as empathetic and careful. I think, again, careful is such a smart word here, because I think as a newbie, she's going to have to be careful going through this game. But she has that kind of fun personality where I think she might be able to roll with the punches, but it could be kind of overwhelming at times. I also thought it was funny she mentioned astrology, and in Jonathan's video, he mentioned crystals. So I could see them like going on a 3-hour rant about that stuff together and like taking each other to the end for that reason. I think they both have those personalities. So I'm really excited. I think that she could be what draws people into an alliance. And I think that could be her role in this game. So really excited.
Yeah, Margaret is the other person that I think will pop off the screen when people look at the Castaways in a group. I think that, again, Margaret is the other single as a Pringle. So Margaret and Micah, you know, if they ever want to, you know, say that they are both single as a Pringle, they might, you know, just that might be something that continues on in the future. You never know. But Margaret wants to try the game and she really wants to make friends. And she said winning will just be a bonus. However, she said, in our question, why do you want to be a part of Survivor Monte Carlo? She said, I'll be competitive with everyone, but mostly myself. And I think being competitive with yourself is so different than being competitive with other people, because she won't show that competitive side unless she's just, you know, having thoughts in her own head, or she's not going to come off as someone who's conniving or someone who's going to backstab in a alliance or a group Zoom or anything like that. I think that she could find herself becoming more conniving as the game goes on. And if people catch on to that, or if that happens and people catch on to that, you know, it might be too late. Margaret is someone that I think I don't think she knows it yet, but she's built to win one of these with all of her answers that she gave us. And, you know, for the 17th time, I look for her to do very well, and I'm very excited to see her play.
So we're actually just going to have 17 winners this season. That's also the twist. That's the twist.
Her connection with McKenna for the book club is like sort of a connection. They aren't friends on Facebook, as far as I can tell from Mackenzie Newcomb, the runner of the book club, and my girlfriend and Lilly. They don't interact. So, but if people watched last season, with Lilly and Mackenzie, they know that 2 book club members did play and they were almost going to make some moves together. You know, if people might take that more seriously than their alliance might actually be, if there even is one. So I hope that if there is an alliance between Margaret and McKenna down the road, that they're able to keep it under wraps, or that they even keep the book club thing under wraps. So we'll see how that goes. All right, well, that's our 17 Castaways, and we did it last season. We're gonna do it again. We each made top 5 picks for Exile Island, and we're bringing it to you again. Again, this isn't based on who's gonna place first, second, third, or fourth, or fifth. It's just who we think is most likely to make it to the top 5. And, you know, I hate to do this to you, Lilly, but you're the newbie here. I'm not going to throw my co-host under the bus.
I already have my list, so it's okay.
Lilly, who are your final 5 selections for Survivor Monte Carlo?
All right, so my final five, which it's kind of off the cusp, it changed as we talked through everything. I think it's going to be, I have to put Victoria in there. Victoria, Nick Cannon, I'm going to do Will, McKenna, and then Margaret. I think those are going to be our top five.
Me
Order.
next. So we have a very similar top five. And I don't know that these will necessarily be the top five, like final five, but and we know so little about everybody,
Yeah.
but these are my five that I would say are like possible winner picks. So I have Nick, McKenna, Parker, Will, and Margaret. Those are my five.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah, very.
So I think three the same.
I think 4 the same. The
Oh.
only difference is I had Victoria, you had Parker. But I think like you, these are all people I think have the chance to win the game, like the most chance. I think everybody has a chance. So I just want them all to make top 5.
Yeah, and that's the production person in you now, Lily. When you were in the game, there's no way you would have wanted 5 possible winners in the top 5.
Yeah.
Even though that's what friggin' happened. So
Yeah.
okay, my top 5 is going to be Margaret, Parker, Jonathan, Nick Cannon, and I'm down to 3 people, and I only got 1 spot left. I'm gonna spread the love. I'm gonna say that Kyle will also make the top 5. So everyone had Margaret.
Mm-hmm.
Did anyone else get picked by everybody? Did you also have Nick, Lily?
Oh yeah, I did have Nick.
Okay, so Nick and Margaret were picked by everybody.
Yeah.
Last season, Lily was picked by everyone. So, and she made it to the top 5. So
yeah, so hopefully one of them will win it, so then we can all be right.
well,
but as was stated at the beginning, and throughout this entire thing, this is absolutely a fantastic cast. I cannot wait to see how everybody responds to the game. And it will be honestly so sad every time that somebody has to get voted out. It will be too soon for every person. And we're going to have some really great players that are going to go out early in the game. And that's going to be hard to say goodbye to them. But hopefully, regardless, everybody has a great time playing. And you all have a great time watching it unfold.
Yeah, we are just a few days away from filming and could not be more excited, like Morgan said. And as we said throughout the whole thing, 17 people, all 17 of these people could win and only one of them can. So looking forward to each and every moment with this cast. And it will be sad for me to read the votes every single time, although I'll do it with a smile on my face because I love doing it. But we hope you follow along all season with episodes on Monday and Thursday and extra content, including exit interviews, draft updates, and other things throughout the week. So looking forward to having you as a viewer yet again here on Dynamic Character Productions. And we will see you next time.
Now you have to go back, rewatch the video, and count how many times we said the word excited.